The truth is that anytime where I think they see things where they come out from Nigerians government, why I put on say Nigerians and the Nigerians government as well, because what they tell people, to me, is really impressive. It's unbelievable. After 3 years, we be see that massacre take place for Lekki toll gate. The person who na elect again as the governor of Lagos, though when they express the tell Nigerians say there was never that kind of massacre in Lekki toll gate. Are you kidding? Okay, then go further by saying that it's true. 103 people they buy for that thing will be say happen those days. I beg people now see with our own eyes. More than listening to waiting they come out for people mouths.
Report, a letter which went viral on social media from the Lagos State Government Public Procurement Agency titled Letter of No Objection, Mass Burial for the 103, the year 2020 NSAS victim, claimed that the state government engaged the services of TOS Funeral Limited, a private firm, at the cost of 61,285,000 naira to bury 103 bodies which were identified to be victims of the killings. The Lagos State government, however, said the 103 casualties mentioned in the letter were victims of the NSAS violence in community clashes prior to the incident at the Lekki toll gate on October 20, 2020, insisting that the casualties are not from the Lekki toll gate as being alleged, and that nobody was retrieved from the Lekki toll gate incident. Now, the Lagos State government has maintained their claim. They claim that nobody was retrieved from the incident. I mean, over the weekend, our videos were trending from, 2020, where the Lagos State governor gave the interview saying that, nobody died, also from CNN. But let me take more reactions. This is from Big Mo. Well, he wrote, first things first, the letter is true, so that's out of the way. Secondly, let's even assume the deaths didn't happen at the toll gate for a second, but 103 human beings, not cattle though, killed across the state while protesting for police brutality was not enough concern for the state or federal government for almost 3 years. Why did the state keep mute about the number of deaths? What exactly did the state, federal government do to prevent this massive death happening again? Life in Nigeria is truly worthless. I don't see how this much number of people will die during a protest and not even a memorial was done on their behalf. Since the government knew about this number of deaths over the years and kept mute about it, it's clear there has been a massive cover-up by the state of what truly happened during the NSAS protest. Now, I truly understand why the last state governorship election was a do or die affair for them. Well, really, bu1al wrote, families of NSAS victims killed by the police forces showed up, by the way, looking for the bodies of their loved ones, including Pelumi Onifade's mother. They were asked to drop DNA samples. They dropped. Lagos State government never did any DNA test for the samples collected. I can go on and on with the tweets, but Dr. Abati, I want to start with you. I spoke with the former spokesperson for the Lagos State government, Gbenga Omotosha, and he gave me some insight, and he did share with me a couple of articles and reports where they had announced or made some announcements, if you can pull up those articles, about these bodies that were in the morgue. And he also said that it is a common thing that happens in Lagos, that there's, the Lagos State always conducts mass burials. I mean, this is one of the reports, the public announcement that came out. But can you really, really blame Nigerians for feeling the way that they are feeling at this point? Dr. Abati. Okay,
a number of issues here. Incidentally, we just had a conversation with Dele Farotimi, who was one of the lawyers involved in making representations before the Justice Doris Okuwobi, panel that was set up to address the mass shootings in Lekki. And he too made a number of, observations. But first, let's deal with the statement he put out by the Lagos State government.
Yes.
And signed by the PAMSEC of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Ogbuye. He says, one, that this letter that is up there, that is causing all of this, is a letter from the Public Procurement Agency in Lagos State, giving, which is a letter of no objection, which is what you do in government when there is a contractual thing involved. So they've engaged the services of the funeral home. This is the amount involved. Then, of course, you have to approach the procurement agency at the federal level. They also have their own procurement agency. And then you get a letter of no objection, which means you can go ahead. This is a 5-paragraph letter.
Yes.
And it talks about payment of taxes and all of that. Now, people took this letter and said, well, this is clear evidence that people were killed at the Lekki toll gate. But the explanation of government is that, look, those persons, these victims that they want to do mass burial for, they did not all die at the Lekki toll gate. And that, in fact, nobody died at Lekki toll gate, quoting in this regard what the white paper, said. And they're saying people died in Ogba, people died in Ikeja, people died in Ikorodu, people were also killed during the Ikoyi jailbreak. So they have that long list. And that it is malicious, an attempt at sensationalism to say that, oh, this is evidence that people died at the Lekki toll gate. So, and they tried to debunk all of that. However, when we had a conversation with Dele Farotimi said, it is not correct to say that the report of the Okuwobi panel did not say that some people were killed at the Lekki toll gate. That it was in the white paper that there was that discrepancy. That was a point that he pointed out, that he indicated. And I've tried to check. Indeed, in the report of the panel, there were, indications that there were casualties at the Lekki toll gate. But, what the exact number is may be a matter of argument. But the state government is saying, wow, 3 people did not die there. Number 2, he also expressed concern, which I think is also something that can be taken on board, that you are spending 61.2 million to do mass burial for 103 persons. The people are dead already. So what is the cost? He calculated it. He said that's about 500,000 per person. And he thinks that there is corruption involved. Now, if that can be established, that figure should be investigated. Okay? And then number 3, in any environment at all, whether it is even NSAS victims or they are victims of other killings in Okoba or Agege or in any part of Lagos, should 103 people just disappear within a space of about 1 week? But the government says, well, the thing to consider is that while the panel was sitting, the chief pathologist was invited to give evidence, and that the chief pathologist of the state could not link the bodies to Lekki toll gate. And that 2, the chief coroner also issued a statement and said anybody who had missing persons in their families between the 17th to the 27th of October 2020 should go to the state morgue, the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital morgue, to go and identify bodies there. Maybe they will be able to find their persons, at the morgue. And that since then, up till now, nobody showed up. So more than 2 years after the fact, the state government is now making arrangements to do mass burial, to decongest the morgue. But on all sides, it is most unfortunate that anybody will just die like that.
And that's where I'm going.
103 persons. Only how many more have died and who have been taken to the state morgue, so that now they want to decongest the morgue. So people die every day needlessly, in this country for the wrong reasons, for, deaths that cannot even be explained. The kind of death that will not happen in any decent society.
Absolutely.
So that is a, touching part of it.
A lot of people have said, 103 people. This story means a lot to me. I broke down when I saw this happen. In the lead up to the actual day of the Lekki toll gate shooting, there was all of this mayhem going around Lagos, police stations being burned, people being killed. But 103 people, people are saying they're skeptical about that number of people.
And for good reason. In fact, OJ, what this report did was that it brought up more questions for me, and it's almost it's resurrecting the NSAS story. I don't believe that we have come to the end of this. I think this will just bring up even more questions. And I wish Nigeria were a country where journalists would be allowed to do their jobs in terms of investigations and allowed to have access to interviewing key personnel, access to documents so that we can truly verify what is the true state of what's happened. 103 people, human beings, and going back to that first tweet you read, we're not talking about animals here, we're talking about people who lived, people who had family members, who had a livelihood. If these kind of numbers had died in that period that the government said, there should have been a national day of mourning called by the government. The fact that there was quiet or silence about these numbers all these years, in 3 years, is a cause for concern. Why? Why didn't anyone say anything? Yes, they put out adverts, but it didn't give the true picture of what had happened. Other questions, again, would be, or something else I wanted to identify is that in that letter that was written, where they put NSAS victims, I think it's time that the state government, in being sensitive to the people, stop tagging what has been said by international and local community members as one of the most peaceful protests when it happened, to be victims of people who died as a result of NSAS. People died as a result of violence that erupted following the agitations of people after the events of the 20th of October 2020. Because we have reports of how it was very organized, particularly at the epicenter, Ground Zero, at the Lekki toll gate. Then moving forward in terms of that, is that the panel report versus the white paper.
Yes.
There have been inconsistencies, and that's why there are questions that still emerge. Right from the very first day when the military said they were not even there at all. Then going on to saying that they did not fire